What you're about to hear is an excerpt from our weekly podcast, which you can find every single week on our Patreon page. So if you'd like the full version of this, head on over to our Patreon page where you can support us for just $1 a month. That's patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Outlast 2. What do I think of it? If you played the first Outlast, you'll know that this is one of those games where it's like Amnesia, the Dark Descent, and things like that. The glorified hide-and-seek simulator. It's one of the ways to ramp up tension, ramp up atmosphere. Don't give an opportunity to fight back.
Yeah, you're pretty powerless.
To play. That's right, yeah. And it does build up the tension and, the anxiety I feel when a mob of pasty, scrawny yokels, which I know if I had a gun or I could fight back,
what did you
I
call
could take them. A yokel? Right?
Pasty, scrawny yokel?
Yeah, they've got all the, when a leper can beat you up and, you can't fight back. Is it really fear or is it frustration?
It sounds trashy as hell, Jake.
Yeah, it's just trashy. And what I mean by that is it's just absolutely glorified trashiness to the extreme. It's like they've got a room full of men and they've gone, right, boys, let's think about the worst things we can think of, right? Calling someone a dog. Yeah, let's put that in the game. Yeah. That's in there.
When you came in yesterday and you were telling us all the things in the story, that was very much my impression of it. Was like, that's just the collection of the worst ideas you can possibly think of. Yeah. I'd love to see what didn't make the cut, actually. Like, they obviously threw out a lot of horrible...
bestiality, apparently. In case you're worried, I was interested in the game, but the bestiality's been cut. So what's in it for me? Well, I'll tell you what you can still look forward to. Now, before you turn the video off, I'm not going to spoil the main plot, okay? I'm going to talk about things you can find in the first 20 minutes. And some of the gameplay that will accompany this video excerpt, if you're watching the excerpt, is going to be gameplay footage from the first 2 hours of the game, right?
Slightly spoilerific if you're that bothered.
Yeah, mild spoilers, I'd say. So if you're still here after dog, then look forward to the following. There's a primary school that all the children get killed. Right, there's a circle of dead babies. Oh, by the way, if you're looking to start a heavy metal band, feel free to use any of these sentences for band names. So you've got primary school annihilation, circle of dead babies. You've got a bit of the old rape in there. You've got everything, everything.
Is that another band name? Bit of the old rape.
Bit of the old rape. This is what I mean. Like, you've got to laugh or you'll cry, to be honest, with Outlast 2. It's ridiculous.
They're just terrible images and scenes that they've just kind of thought... terrible in the sense that what is awful? What can we put in there that is really bad? Well,
this is the thing, and this is what I wonder about, the horror aspect of it. Unless you've got a weak stomach, not much of what you'll see in Outlast 2 is going to stick with you when you take the game and turn it off, right? It's not psychological horror. It's like a video nasty. It's a small bit of society being pricks and someone's filming it. It's like Cannibal Holocaust, but Jonestown, hillbilly sort of thing. I don't know if any of those were, I'm not sure if hillbilly is even okay to say, so, whatever. Now, the game is...
I live in the Welsh rural countryside. So
we're not far off, are we, to be honest? But the game's based on Jonestown, which, if you're not aware, it was like this cult in America, and there was a huge mass suicide. We forced people to drink Kool-Aid laced with cyanide. Horrific real-life ordeal, which it looks like Outlast have gone, right, that was bad, but how can we make it worse? Let's just kill loads of kids.
You can kind of see then why maybe it got banned in some countries for a little while.
Do you know what? I'm not approved by any means, but I can imagine there's going to be a lot of parents walking in on their kids, watching Let's Plays of this, and they would have just thought, oh God, I just wish that he was watching porn like a normal kid. Because if you're watching...
Why isn't he watching porn like a normal kid? So what you're saying is there's a lot of terrible things going on in the game, and it shows you a lot of awful things. Debate that you need to have is what makes something a horror game? What makes something a video nasty piece of trash? Because if it's just showing you gross stuff, that doesn't sound scary to me. Compare that to something like PT that Liam you brought up in the office, which was a lot cleverer in the way that it made you. You got used to that. You kept looping around the corridor. If anyone didn't play PT, oh my God, you missed out. But if you didn't play it, it was basically like an L-shaped corridor with a couple of doors in either end. And so you walked along this corridor, you turned around the corner. There was like a room or two or something in there as well. I can't quite remember. But you went around this corridor, you went through the end of it, you came back at the start. So it was a loop. So you kept going through this loop. And the way the way it kind of ramped up the tension was really smart because it played on your expectations of what happened last time. So I can just walk down here and then, whoa, oh my god, what's happening now? Something different will happen. And it's not always a jump scare. There were jump scares in it, but it was like atmospheric. It was like there was like a radio in there. There was a bunch of stuff. There was like a little bathroom that was gross. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you could go in, the door would open. Sometimes the door wouldn't open. Things like that. It's just that is clever because it plays on your expectations. Whereas this just feels like it's just shoveling all this awful shit at you, it's just throwing you with.
This is exactly it, and this is something important to touch on. So, PT, arguably one of the best examples of a game that appeals to the people that want that slow burn, psychological horror that plays with your mind. Like you're saying, it's not always a gross out, it's not always a jump scare, but that end bit of PT is memorable for everybody. Yeah. It's oh my god. However, this game, it looks like it's aimed at Let's Players. It's a jolt-a-minute fright fest. Yeah. I say fright loosely. Exactly. Now, the only bit of tension in the game is your first 10 minutes of the game until you get to your first jump scare chase scene. After that, the game sort of funnels itself down into this sequence of tedious events which involves searching in dungeons and basements for batteries because you need your camera on night vision all the time because you're in a dark dungeon, a basement, some mines, whatever. Then you get chased. Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing scary about it. Now here's another thing about fear and horror in games. A lot of it is weighing up your options. Yeah. I've got 5 bullets left. Do I take out this guy? Do I save my bullets? Do I run? Now, in Outlast 2, what it is you'll be at point A and you need to get to point B. In between point A and B, there's a bunch of angry people that want to kill you, okay? By the time you get to point B, let's say it's a fence that you jump over. Yeah. As soon as you get to that point B, the bad guys disappear. Mm-hmm. So you've got no incentive to sneak from point A to B when you can see it. And you know,
beeline it.
Just beeline it, because you can run faster than them. If you sneak and you're going through all these houses, it's another opportunity for you to be caged in by these angry freaks. You know, they just want to kill you. The game doesn't give you an incentive to take your time. It doesn't really make any effort to build tension with you hiding in closets. Because outside of the occasional run-in you have with these sort of superhumans, if you'd like, the game is just you legging it. Now, with that being said, there's a couple of scenes where the game scripts a chase, so you can't take your time, you have to run. Yeah. Now, there'll be a door on the left and a door on the right. You go for the door on the right, it's jammed, you turn around and they're all behind you, and you can't fight back and you instantly die. The game then has a loading screen and you do the chase again. And this time you go left. That trial and error is one of the fundamental problems with this game, is it doesn't really offer you any sort of opportunity that your logic can make you prevail first time. Yeah. There'll be people, no matter how smart you are, no matter how in tune you are with video games, no matter if you're the best gamer in the world, you'll make a decision at one point in that game that feels unfair to you because it was literally a flip of a coin. Yeah. And is that scary?
Because the game wants to give you the jump scare of the wrong decision, and it doesn't really care if you get it right or wrong the first time, because if you get it wrong, then that's another awful thing that it can show you.
I think the insta-death actually took away from the fear for me, because as soon as I got something wrong, I sort of laughed to myself and I was like, that's me dead then. So I stood still and I was like, kill me then so I can try again. On something like, maybe a Resident Evil game, you get into a corner, you can still fight your way out of it. Yeah. And you've got hope, and that sometimes
he'll throw you through down the corridor or something, Jack or whatever.
And exactly. But sometimes, like if you're fighting an enemy you can kill, you'll make a stupid decision to try and fight your way out of there, when really the clever thing is to probably just die so you don't waste your resources. It's the same with this game. You've got a system where you can heal yourself with bandages. But again, whenever I got caught, I'd let myself get killed. Now, the important thing about that is that takes away from the fear. Yeah. Because it gives me no... Yeah, I'm not scared of dying, because to me, it just puts me in a place where I'm safe again.
Yeah, because dying is a smart business decision in the game.
Exactly. And like I'm saying, with this trial and error thing, it takes away from the tension. Now, when you do get the correct door and you are running away, there's a handy button where you can look over your shoulder, and how that works is great, and that really does ramp up the fear. That's when you feel
sounds good. Yeah.
most anxious. So with regards to actual horror, that's when Outlast 2 does it best, when you're getting chased or you're looking over your shoulder. I just mentioned a minute ago that you run into these occasional superhumans, kind of like how you did in the first game, or in Resident Evil 7, Jack and Marguerite. Okay, so the one that you might know from the demo, I won't talk about any of the further ones, again, for spoilers, but the one that you'll probably know from the demo is this woman called Marta. She's about a 7-foot woman with a huge scythe, and she whispers biblical passages, and you can hear her coming. And she can run faster than you, so when she sees you, you've got to leg it. And now you always sort of meet her in like some arena area, and a lot of the time, let's say there's a fence you need to vault over to safety, you can't get to that fence without dragging a cart. And when you drag the cart, it makes a noise, and then she'll chase you. So you're pulling this cart, and you're looking over your shoulder, and you are so anxious, you're so tense, and as soon as you hear her coming, you let go of the cart, you have to run and hide, wait for it to pass, or if she chases you, you have to sort of escape, and then you're just making opportunities to pull this back. And the fact that you have to keep going back to that one place, that's what the game does really well.
So there are elements of that, like that slow burn or that psychological thing where you almost scare yourself by imagining what might happen if you get it wrong, or which is what it's all about. And that's why things like Alien Isolation I was a huge fan of. You didn't like it, Liam, did you?
No, that game far outstayed its welcome.
Well, I thought I loved Alien Isolation, but I one of the things I liked about that was the thought that the alien could appear at any moment, and the fact that it was quite dynamic, and that it had like fairly open-ended like AI parameters. Like it would complete loose cannon when it arrived, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're the same thing. You've got to decide: can I get to that door or not? And you've got to wait till you feel like you've got a good opportunity to do that, and then you go for it. And then you're scared because he might get you at that point. But if you know that he will definitely get you if you try and go for that door, compared to going through an air vent or something like that, which is what you said earlier, you've got two options, then it's not scary. You're just like, well, I'm going to die if I go that way, so I better not go that way because I died last time. When it's more you're creating the fear in your own head because you don't know if you're going to make it or not. Well, once you lose that, then the game ceases to be scary.
And that's when a game can consider itself scary, because you remember feeling scared, and then you remember that you're scared because of nothing. Like, that's what the thing about Outlast 2 that I consider the scariest part was when I was pulling this one cart on this one bit, and I was like looking over my shoulder thinking, oh, she's going to be here any minute now, and then she wasn't. And then I jumped over the fence, and I was thinking to myself afterwards, like, I was so scared then for nothing. But
that's great, though. That's
one of the good feelings. Now, often a game with no fighting mechanic means that there's no opportunity for the game's mechanics to progress. In Resident Evil, how you get that pistol, then you get the shotgun, then you get the grenade launcher. You feel like you're progressing. This game, the mechanic is at a plateau all the way through. Because of that, it can feel like a bit of a drag. But what makes it feel even more of a drag is that you can see it coming a mile off. You fall down off a cliff, or you hit your head. Your glasses never break, by the way. What's up with that? And then you wake up, and you're in a high school. It's got this weird story throughout the game where you go back into this traumatic experience of your life, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. Every time you make a little bit of progression in the high school world, a tentacle appears out of a locker or a vent, and then, you're back in the real world. And it did that so much. It was so bitty and so broken up. It really took the fluidity out of the gameplay, and it's a shame.
Also, you want to feel like in Resident Evil, you kind of feel trapped in that location because it's very finite. It's like a small building, and then there's a bigger building, and then there's a garden greenhouse thing or whatever. You feel like it's one location that you're trapped in up until the end, I guess. But there's you're in one location and you're like, okay, well, it all makes sense in your head. Like, you know where rooms are, you know where the caravan thing is outside. It's a bit of respite if you need to save your game or whatever. It's just the geography of it is really important. So if you're constantly taken out of that situation and plopped in another like flashback or whatever, I guess that
that's totally correct. And with Resident Evil 7, and I'm sure we're probably going to be annoying some people with the comparisons, but it's only fair because they're set in a similar place.
We're just talking about horror games.
That's right.
Outlast is a horror game. How does it fit into?
Especially with a first-person horror game. Now, with Outlast 2, the story, like I was saying, with that point A to B, it's completely linear. With Resident Evil 7, you knew you had to go back into the basement. Did you clear out those molded the first time? or did you run away from them? Because now you've got to go back, motherfucker, and there's twice as many. Yeah? It didn't happen with Outlast 2 like that. What's nice about Outlast 2 is that rather than being stuck in the asylum like the first game, you go from village to cornfield to chapel to mines. The location feels really good. However, the fact that you don't have to go back, again, no incentive to do it properly. You just sprint through. And another thing, if you're scared in real life, you're in a scary place and you can make a beeline for a door and you know that there's not going to be anyone there, you're going to do it. And that's not what they want you to do, but it's how you do it. So once you've seen it once, this location, it's gone in people's heads and on people's Let's Play compilations, which I'm sure there's going to be fucking loads of. It's going to be like, oh, the cornfield jump scare, oh, the elevator jump scare. There's a lot of that, and it kind of takes an organic feeling of horror into like
a sequence
of jump scares. And again, guys, dead babies. Okay, so thanks very much for joining us. If you want to hear or watch the full podcast, then just head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And there you can get access to one podcast every single week for as little as $1 a month, as well as our back catalogue of podcasts, which is about 8 or 9 now. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. You should see some more content on your screens just now if you'd like to check out some more of our stuff. And there is the link to Patreon there if you'd like to support us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.